You guys ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
All right, hang on one second. I'm gonna call in. Oh, he's calling. Hold on. Or not. Let's try that one more time.
Is he dosing us?
Yeah. Let's see if it'll go again. Come on. Call again. I just had you, homie. There he goes. You there, Dustin?
Yes.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes.
Can you guys hear him?
Yeah.
You can hear him? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so Dustin, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mute you. Okay?
Yeah, you know, that's, yeah.
And then once we actually get...
I have it sitting on my computer to join as soon as I'm done with this.
Cool. Sounds good.
No
Well,
one likes
I'm going to go ahead and go live. I'm muting you real quick right now, Dustin. All right, let me see. But you can't talk, so we can still hear you. Well, actually, no. Maybe I can only.
Do I have
hear
anything in my teeth?
you. No, you don't. You don't have anything in your teeth.
There's bones.
I don't think they can hear you, dude. No.
The bones of your enemies.
Oh. Okay, cool.
Well, no,
Okay. Okay, so before we get started, guys, I'm actually really, really excited right now because the Stars have made a movement, and I'm really, really excited about this. I think is it tomorrow night? I'm pretty sure it's going to be hopefully their game clincher to go into the next round. And the Mavs proved one thing, that if Porzingis did not get ejected on 2 poor technicalities, they could have taken game 1.
If the refs once again didn't conspire against the Mavericks.
Like they always do. But I want to welcome on a very special guest. He's a very experienced sportscaster. He tries not to let his personal life get involved, but he is dealing with a lot in his past as well. So just listen to the facts, kind of ignore his personal issues. But I would like to welcome on the great sportscaster, Marty Funko. Marty, how are you doing today?
Marty Funko here. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, Marty. Hey,
did you introduce me?
I already introduced you. I sure did.
Oh, I missed it.
No, it's okay.
Like I missed all my kids' births.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Why did you miss all their births?
I was busy sportscasting.
Oh well, I mean, that's your career, though. They'd understand.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. Do you still talk to your kids?
That's not important right now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine.
I wouldn't either.
Marty, I know you're an avid Dallas Stars fan, and I believe we're going into Game 6 now, coming up tomorrow. Are you excited that the Stars have turned it around? They're kind of showing their dominance?
Oh, for sure. Dallas is doing great. They have a chance to close out the series tomorrow night. If Philly closes out their series tonight, then that's 5 teams that have made it through already, and then that makes Dallas number 6. So that's looking good. There's only 2 more teams after that.
That's good news.
That's good. All of those teams are really close to moving on to the second round, which is good for them. I just feel bad for the teams that won't be moving on. I'm having a little trouble with that myself. I just
those teams.
Worry about the next year.
Nowhere near a breakthrough. That's all I'll say. Speaking of breakthroughs, the Stars are actually starting to break through the Calgary defense. And after Game 3 shutout from Kem Talbot, he's been really letting that whole team down, much the same way that I do to the people that I love and care about.
I'm sure that's not entirely true. I mean,
I'm sure your family loves you, very much. They're here to support you, buddy.
Let's just say this. Those referees last night tossed Porzingis faster than my wife tossed me out of the house the other week. Woof. And you know what? If Calgary actually loses to the Stars, then we won't even see the Flames anymore. Just like my kids won't even see me anymore.
How old are your kids? How many kids? Well, one, how many kids do you have? Because you seem really upset about this.
It's the 2. I've got little Tiffany and little Jason.
Okay, little Tiffany and little Jason. Do you mind if I write those down? That way you don't, forget their names later on.
Never. No. Take down my children's information. That doesn't sound creepy at all.
Well, I'm sorry. I already have Polaroids of your kids, so don't worry about it. But so I'm sorry you missed your children's births, but it sounds like, things on the home front with the missus isn't working out very, very well either, is it?
Look, all I can tell you is that the Mavs have a tough series ahead. Getting past Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. By the way, is that guy a Beatle? I couldn't tell.
He doesn't really look like a beetle. No,
Oh,
I'm not
But
gonna
they
get
have
it.
different hair.
It's the hair.
Anyway, getting
it
past
sounds
those
like
guys
you're
is going to be
missing your
difficult.
wife like Patrick Beverly.
I recently had a problem getting past some clippers myself just after, my first post-quarantine haircut.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like I lost a fight with my blender over there. It's
Oh,
Was
no.
your hair a
really,
little mangled?
really bad.
Yeah, was that the longest you went without a haircut?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, what was the longest you went without a haircut then?
I used to have very long, luscious hair, but I had to chop it off for this job.
Oh, I got you. Well, I mean, I don't really know why. I mean, you're kind of just over the air. You don't really have much of a camera appearance.
Yeah, but they said
Dale
it
Hansen.
was better for reasons.
Okay, so all right, so let's get back on sports here real quick. So you said the Mavs, game 2. What's your predictions going into game 2? Do you think they got a pretty legitimate shot if the refs give them a fair shake?
For sure. I mean, they're up right now is what it looks like with 24-19. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But I mean, honestly, what is the difference between a foul and a technical foul? Is it because it's technically a foul? I mean, what is the deal there, guys?
I guess yes. I guess
6 fouls and you're out, but only 2 technical fouls and you're out. What's that about?
Well, speaking of those,
Talk to me. I don't understand.
It's like if Rodney Dangerfield and Jerry Seinfeld did a station thing from Bill and Ted.
Yes.
I am Station. I'm not Station. That's a stupid joke. I'm sorry.
So okay, yeah. So let's talk about those Porzingis fouls. I watched both of them. The second one, okay, I kind of understand the second technical foul he got. He did put his hands, on somebody, and I guess
didn't do anything. He didn't do anything.
It wasn't even
that's
a
why my
shove.
wife left me too.
Oh.
Well, listen. All right. Well, Marty Funko, do you think that the Stars are going to finish it in 6?
Well, let's certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Let's hope that they can finish it out, and let's hope that the baseball teams and the football teams get to finish their seasons. I don't always get to finish. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Marty Funko. You'll be hearing much more from him here in the future. Thank you very much, Marty.
Bye, Marty.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate everything.
Wow. That was some really deep stuff. I don't know if he really went that deep in detail on sports, though. It just seems like he kind of scratched the surface and then
I
got
don't think he really understood sports. I think he just doesn't do relationships well.
I think he has a really big issue with that. And I feel really bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we do have one more person joining us this evening. Here he is. It's going to be the good old Dustin Hunter. And
Dustin,
we'll wait.
You love sports. You missed
Hi guys.
this guy we had on.
Hi Mason and Mike and Nikki.
Hi.
What's going on?
You missed this guy, Marty Funko.
What? Okay. What is? I haven't heard of that guy.
Funko.
I haven't heard of that guy.
Well, he's a really good sportscaster. He seems to be dealing with some like personal problems, but he gave us a lot of detail on the Stars and the
He was
Mavs.
in a font.
He was in a
I see what you did
fog.
there.
He was in a font.
Stop.
Well, you guys are
Goodness
listening to.
gracious.
You guys are listening. Let me introduce the podcast real quick. We're listening to episode number 114 of the Thanks for Nothing podcast. My name is Mike. Below me, we do have Mason and Dustin. To the left of me, we have Miss Nikki Bellamy.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi,
Hello.
Nikki.
Hi, Nick.
I am pleasure. It's my pleasure to grace you with my presence this
Oh,
evening.
this is. I'm really happy that you're here. We're gonna have a really exciting conversation. But yes, no,
Yeah.
Dustin, you should check out more. Probably look up his Facebook page, Marty Funko.
Okay, well,
he's-
I'll just go back and whenever I listen to the show again, I'll pick it up from there.
see.
I'm sure
yeah,
he left. I'm
absolutely.
sure he left his details and contact information.
Right there. Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did. That's right. So moving on now. What are we drinking, guys?
Well, As we all know, I'm not much of a drinker, so I went out to the store and I got me a little strawberryta.
Ooh.
Nice.
Stop it, you.
Fancy.
So we'll see the kind of person I turn into by the end of this. But
You're singing Lady Gaga by the end of it will stop you.
yes, that would be a pleasure.
Unless you can sing like Lady Gaga, then we won't stop you.
Yeah, good.
Lady Gaga is queen. She is the greatest.
No,
Yes.
Adam Lambert is playing with Queen.
What? Yes,
Adam,
yes, you are.
Adam Lambert plays with Queen.
That's true. You are.
Oh, you're right.
Did I see a Carlsberg? Did I see a Carlsberg?
Carlsberg.
Oh,
Carlsberg. That's very
that's
nice.
sophisticated.
Hey, is
Tell Autumn
does-
we said hey too.
yeah. Hey, Autumn, how's it going?
Hey, Anna.
Okay, so Dustin,
Like,
what are
get
you
out.
drinking?
Get out of the damn room, Autumn. I'm busy right now.
This is my private
I
reflection
told you
time.
before.
This is my passion project.
Dustin, what do
Anyways,
you got?
my
What do you got this
OnlyFans.
evening?
I'm drinking some good old fashioned cheap old $9 or $8 bottle of well, this is a glass, but Mark West Pinot Noir.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's very
la, la.
fancy, you guys. Well, that's awesome. You guys know what I'm drinking. It's always my very famous grape juice. Love it. The only thing is I just moved to the box because my alcoholism has increased tenfold. So it's no longer a bottle, it's a box.
I'm fine. It's fine.
Fine.
I'm going to try to drink the entire box of wine before the end of this episode. So
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Please don't do that.
You have to actually push buttons and upload stuff and keep track of things. Like, don't do that.
I know. Well, that's what I'm trying to do right now. It's actually giving me a hard time.
Podcast, because all we have to do is talk. You actually have to do the real stuff.
Well, that's what. Once again, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you guys all like on the main Facebook page, but it's giving me a really hard time tagging you guys in this. And this is great podcast stuff right here. Me just talking about what I'm trying to do. Technically, there we go. It's done. All right. So. Geez, that was a struggle. Tonight, what we're going to talk about is mental struggles and the mental health differences between men and women.
Mike, before we go on, is anybody listening to the show right now?
Oh,
Yeah, because there is a bit of a delay. I can hear it. I think we all know who it is. We're staring right at her.
oh, what's going on?
Lower your volume.
Oh, I told you I don't know this Zoom stuff.
Oh, well, yeah, just lower the volume. I was hearing it too. It was kind of like a delay feed that was in it as well.
I just wanted
Well,
to address
it's the booming from your voice, Mike.
That's what it is. I know. It's bouncing
Yeah.
off the back of your apartment and back at me.
Is it better?
It's good.
Is it better? Okay, just
Yeah.
let me know.
Sounds great right now. So far, so good. But yes, tonight we're going to be talking about mental health struggles and the differences that men and women between diagnosis, treatment, and basically livelihoods when they're experiencing depression, anxiety, and other mental issues. Nikki, I want to know, like, why was this so important to you to actually want to talk about this?
I feel like it's not talked about enough, especially with men. And I don't know, it just seems to be, the older I get, more on the forefront of my mind, especially, I wanted to get into more like social media, and I know we're all millennials here, but I'm like at the cutoff.
yourself, man.
Well, I'm like at the cutoff here, so I saw a lot of transitioning between like AOL dial-up, you couldn't even use the internet and the phone at the same time, all the way up to like Twitter and bullying online in high school. And so I just thought it'd be a cool topic to talk about.
Hell yeah. No, I agree with that. Yes, us old men here are in our 30s and we're prime millennial age, but we also were the birth of social media as well. We saw a lot going from Friendster to Zanga, MySpace being the biggest one.
I just remember Zanga. I didn't do Friendster.
You didn't do Friendster? Yeah, I didn't.
I caught the very tail end of Zanga right before the big MySpace switch over.
But Zanga is basically just like, I'm going to write a bunch of shitty 17-year-old blogs about angst and
This is
anger.
my
Yeah.
poetry.
And then
MySpace was definitely like the upgrade to Zanga, I feel like.
all
for
that
sure.
mattered was the top 8, and if you move from
Right.
6 to 7, the friendship's over.
Oh yeah, no,
Right.
and I think that was the birth of the disparities between social media and mental health was the top 8.
Yes.
When you were number 2 or number 3, or you knew the relationship was over with your girlfriend when you went from number 1 to number 8 on the list, because
Or you were taken off completely.
well, no, they didn't take you off completely. They didn't want to hurt you that bad, but they're like, you're about to be taken off, but I'm going to put you at 8 just so you know that we're through, and then I'm going to take you off right after that. Devastating. Fucking devastating.
But I feel like that was the most bullying in the MySpace days, was like the top 8, you know, but when Facebook came out and Twitter and, you know, Instagram, it just got way worse. I don't know how y'all feel, but.
Well, I think a lot more of the cyberbullying, I personally believe, was even before MySpace. I think a lot of it had to do with AIM, chat rooms, stuff like that. There was a lot more cyberbullying that was going on during that time. You know, I mean, I guess you could probably say that the height of AIM was probably right around Friendster, Zanga. I think AIM was like super popular during that time. And you saw on your what your parents were always watching with like NBC Nightly News or 2020, stuff like that, you know, oh, the dangers of cyberbullying and predators in the chat rooms and all this stuff. Like, I feel like the birth of the internet and the ability to, you know, go hard behind a keyboard, just one, brought out all of the creeps that are out there, but two, it's really easy to be angry behind a keyboard, and you just see it. It's very, very prevalent today. So I say AIM was the worst time. MySpace, we just kind of slapped you in the face with yeah, you're number 8 on my top 8, but you'll be off next week.
Yeah.
It was by far like one of the worst times.
Well, like the weird transition was like AIM was what all that mattered was what your was it the away message?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What powerful lyric that was. That's all that mattered. Then MySpace was what song you have playing in your profile. Top 8 was. And then it goes to Facebook, and I've noticed 3 things with Facebook. It went how it kind of transitioned over the years from like 2010 or 11 until now, where it was you know, at first these like short little, you know, like quips maybe or
Yeah, like how Twitter used to only be 100 and some odd characters.
like the original Twitter, and then it went from like, I'm talking about people our age, it went from years later like we had this massive platform, and then now we're gonna write novels about how we feel about everything, and it mattered to us. And then now we kind of got older, and now all we do is shit post and put these surreal and dank memes, and that's all we use it for. So it's like degraded entirely. It like we get a huge,
Just increased in depression.
huge, you know, like went up the hill and then we're all the way back down to where now, like usually our age it doesn't matter, but now it's mostly for the boomers that probably made fun of us for using AIM or made fun of us for our MySpaces. Well, don't I get a space too? All right.
Dude, did you burn your house down? I would
What?
have burned my house down. Don't I get a space?
Happen. I just imagine at some point that happened to someone, but now it's just used as a Facebook is literally just a disinformation mecca.
Right.
Just if you not to get into politics, but it's what Russia is using to spread out as many wrong things as possible.
Guys, yeah, just to spread it. Yeah, just to spread it evenly. I've been seeing very much, if you see anything on Facebook at all and it sways you in one direction or the other, right or left, man, there's probably a greater than 35 to 40% chance that came from a Russian troll farm.
Yeah,
it's like
it was. Well, and it wasn't. It was
scary, man.
Well, yeah, but it was more prevalent back in 2016, though, right? Like more than it is.
No, it's worse now.
Yeah, I think it's worse now.
I always thought it was just some asshole I always thought it was some asshole who just knew how to use Premiere and just kind of put something together. It was like, yeah, this is the truth. Like, okay,
No,
yeah.
it's definitely worse now. It's definitely worse now, and especially with the protests going on, and it's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Well, and just think about all as far as misinformation goes. I mean, I just had a conversation with someone, and they brought up all of the riots that happened across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to politely point out that it's not all that. Yes, there were some that happened. I'm not denying it. But at the same time, vast majority didn't. They like to play up the bad stuff, the rough stuff. And but that's all you see. You only see one side. They're all rioters or they're all peaceful protesters. It's never
in the middle.
Never in the middle.
It makes you terrified of the world.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and so that's a plague. I mean, that's a huge plague when it comes to social media. I think also when Facebook became, very, very prominent, I'd say probably 2009, 2010. Whenever they made it public, I guess that was 2010. When anybody could have a Facebook, 2009, 2000, you didn't have to have just a college email anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it went downhill. That's where it went to hell real quick in a handbasket. So it scares me quite a bit that actually happened.
Not that
because I signed up and I wasn't in college.
Thanks for nothing.
Mike, I'm so sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, it's okay. You guys were completely frozen on my screen for like 30 seconds, so I just thought I was talking to myself. So you didn't interrupt me at all.
Okay, good. Now I feel bad because you were being really quiet afterwards. I was like, oh no.
No, I was all three of my squares were just frozen solid, and I was like, okay. Right, so.
Speaking of bullying,
I just kept talking because I was like, are they gonna like buffer anytime soon? I'll just stop talking then. That's fine. So, but no, I actually forgot. I actually was rambling for 30 seconds while that was going on. So yeah, I felt like when it was what 2009, 2010, Facebook became public, and then anybody could actually have one, and then that just became like a real issue with a bunch of misinformation, and then hating people who go to college, and then all this stuff, and how you don't know what the real world is like, and then the spread of misinformation started happening with the mistrust in your national news or your major news networks, which was probably like 2014, 2015, whenever that started becoming really, really prevalent. That being said, now you're at a point where anybody can actually use any sort of video editing or audio editing software and create their own truth, and then people are going to follow it because it agrees with their morals. That's where we're at.
Mindset.
I hate it. I fucking
Not morals,
hate it.
mindset.
What's that?
Not morals, mindset.
Yeah, it's sad. It's actually getting to this point where you have a select group of people who just say everything that you hear, you're in the matrix. It's not real. It's not true.
Yeah.
But when I
pull up pillars.
Yeah, whenever I pull up Pro Tools on my computer and make a recording and then mix Barack Obama's voice with this guy who was part of Satan, that's real. And then people go, you see, this is the stuff. Wake up, sheeple. It's like, no, I just made that in my fucking bedroom. Mason and I talked about this, like even when it comes to like making great hit country songs, like it's the same shit.
It's so easy.
It's so easy.
None of you are going to research this, but and then just whatever you want to say.
But okay. So let me get off. I want to get off of social media for a second. And I want to talk about like the importance of actually getting help for any mental disorders that you have. I'll start off with my story because what?
So thanks for leading with that then.
Oh, of course, yeah. So
bring a lot of gravity and seriousness to the situation.
I think in the last year and a half, I would say I've really focused on my mental health. I'll tell my personal story. about it.
Man up, bro. Man up.
Keep it down. We swallow all the problems. So
To a big ball, and then we just
toxic
keep it down there.
Yes.
Keep it down.
Then
So,
you beat
The
your
sissiness is real.
you know, I'm sure all four of us have maybe sought therapy or sought therapy or actually talked to a mental health professional or, you know, sought advice at one point in time. I'll tell my story, and it's that you never know that you're really going through something until something helps alleviate certain pain and stress. And that is by far the most wild feeling I've ever come across. Last year was the first year I actually personally started taking antidepressants. After situations happened with me, I actually got on certain medication. And when that happened, not even with a certain situation, but my life, all these feelings that I've had my entire life were gone. And I was like, oh, this is how you're supposed to, like, you know, feel like, oh, you're supposed to feel less stressed. You're supposed to feel happier. And it was something I've never experienced in my life before. Now, that being said, I've gone through different medications throughout the last year and a half. And it took about 4, 5, 6 different medications. And I've had side effects with every single one I've ever taken. And for men, this is more common than anything, and I'll be absolutely open about it. It's sexual side effects. Not just I can't get it up, but it could be other side effects sexually as well. Loss of interest, or
It won't go back down in the
it won't go back down. It could be anything. And that being said,
Sorry, Nikki.
that being said,
You're like my brother, can you not?
that being said, the issue is you have to find something that works for you and that you can always stay, you know, happy and healthy and maintain a normal livelihood. So I went for about a month where I wasn't taking anything at all because I felt like nothing would alleviate a certain side effect that I was having. And you feel those thoughts, those certain anxieties, those irritabilities, the anger, the frustration. It slowly starts coming back in. And that, to me, I realized I always felt like that. I always felt like this guy, and I couldn't go 24 hours feeling like this guy ever again. I don't want to have that. I'm always willing to want to seek help to feel like a normal human being, like feel like a better person. And so for anybody who actually is struggling or feels like, you know, every day, like day in and day out, they have these daily struggles of frustration, depression, and some people don't even know what it is. I didn't even know what it was. It's just, this is just how I feel. But once you actually get some sort of response, it's not you need to pay $100 a session to go to a psychologist or a therapist. It's going to your doctor. It's talking about it with your doctor, and your doctor going, let's start you out on something small and see what it does. Let's see if this helps. And it does. And it's absolutely crazy. You know, Nikki, I know that you personally have dealt with a lot of issues in your past growing up and whatnot. Do you want to share some of them?
Yeah. It was really hard for me because I just felt like I was crazy my whole life. And then it wasn't until really that I was like 18 where I realized the actual definition of anxiety and depression. Like I always heard it growing up and stuff, but when I finally like actually realized what it meant, I was like, oh, that makes sense. I've had this literally my whole entire life. And then I started to analyze family members and friends and be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. You know, like why they are the way that they are. And so it was really hard because I had some biases against medicine because I was scared of the side effects. And I know that some of them make you even more depressed and more anxious and stuff like that. So I tried different things. and then I would have
I
side
think
effects.
a lot of people are afraid of just medication in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very scary because you don't know. Like every commercial you've seen, like the side effects is like the whole commercial, and it's like way worse than the actual. Yes, exactly. Like, oh, you want to take a medicine for your depression? You're gonna have suicide ideation for about 6 months before you. Exactly. So I was, scared of that. So I tried some different things, and then I had some side effects. And unfortunately, what I did is I either quit something cold turkey or I don't quit. I have that kind of personality. And so I would quit my medication cold turkey, and you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Because your body turns out has a chemical dependency on certain things, whether it's a chemical your body makes or something you put into your body. It's just
your body's now dependent.
Regulation.
Absolutely.
And if you completely, well, I'm used to having that. Well, you can't have that.
Right.
Watch my next script.
So that's really been the hardest thing for me when it comes to medication. I'm back and forth with it. Like, I understand that it works for some people, like Mike, in your situation, it's great. Unfortunately, I haven't found the right medication for me, but I do other things to help.
I want to welcome on people here who are watching the show. Anel, Bree, thank you for watching. Vincent and Brittany. So Anel actually said people don't want to go through the process.
Right.
People simply do not want to do it. And Brittany said that a lot of times you trade symptoms for side effects, which is true. You go, screw it, this side effect is bad. I don't want to take this anymore. So I'd rather just do this right here and just live this way. And that's not necessarily how to do it. And you know what?
I am.
And with mental health, and Mason, I want to get to your point here in a second. With mental health, you go through so many different medications, different drugs. There's so much research still being done on mental health today. It's not common from person to person. And it is really important. I'm not going to go the whole anti-vax route on this, but it is important to do your own research and find something that's going to actually help you in the long run. I found out with a certain side effect of mine that if I take ginkgo biloba, it helps with it. I started taking ginkgo on the side with it, and guess what? Helped with my side effect. It's crazy what you do if you just kind of start researching certain things.
Alchemy.
Certain studies. What's that?
It's alchemy.
It is.
It's alchemy through chemistry. It's doctors figuring out that this works here and this works there. But, oh, by the way, this is going to cause this, but this will also fix it. That's why people get a lot of cocktails. Like, because we're trying to fight this, and this, and then this, and this will fight the side effects of this, and that.
Yep.
So it's just kind of.
Well, it's as simple as also, like, you can say, like, oh, if I can have tea in the morning because it gets my mind going and gets me in a good mood, but I can't have tea in the afternoon because then I get really jittery. I get really, really, my mind gets racing. It goes down to something as simple as that, just you figure, sure, everybody's for the most part different. So some things have adverse effects to some degrees, and some things work better. And then with someone else's vice versa. I mean, entirely depends on where your mind's at and like how your body's processing things.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Mason? In your past, you've been prescribed a couple things too in your past, correct?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm never gonna say I'm I'm not manic depressive. I have anxiety disorder, but always to a degree to where I have been on stuff that helped me. Except if if we're getting to the point, I understand the sexual aspects of those medications. Didn't like it, but
right, it does. It's a turnoff. You're like, nope, don't want to touch it.
But I have it to a degree that I've been able to, and this is true whether or not you're taking medicine. You have to train your brain. You have to constantly be, I don't know what evolving, because you can get. I've had horrible panic attacks. Not consistently, but
Like
might happen
crippling.
every 4 years. But anyway, you have to train your mind. Like you can take stuff, and it will help you if you need it. You need to take it, but you also have to do the extracurricular, guarding against that. Like, well, you have to understand what triggers it, what how it manifests, and then last of all, how you deal with it, because you do have a choice once you've been experiencing it long enough, like how you deal with it.
Right.
And you can fall into the hole, or you can hang on and fight. It's just you have. I've been dealing with it since I was like 11 or 12, and it was really bad then. Now I can, like, it takes a split second, like I'll sense something happening, then I'm like, no, let's see, I need to do this, and this.
Yep.
And then you kind of keep it at bay. But ultimately it comes down to another part of it is what you feed into your mind, because I can say that I've built up some resilience towards that depression or anxiety. But if it you might think it weak to have to be like, oh, I can't think about this, or I can't read about that. But there are some things, some topics that get brought up, some articles I see where I'm like, I can't read that.
Yeah, me too.
And you have to address that. You have to understand that that's normal, that's okay. But like what you were saying, Nikki, like not knowing what it was early on,
Mm-hmm.
you think you're crazy. And then like I remember I was like 11 or 12, and all of a sudden, like, my mind just started wandering, and I got really cold and really nervous, really scared, and really, like, my chest started burning. And then it's almost like it felt like your brain's burning. You're like, oh my God, this I'm losing it. I'm going insane. And you have no clue what's happening. And then later on, you kind of realize, like, the medical reasons. You're like, okay, so this is what led to that. And then you take preventative steps. That's coming from me, who doesn't take medicine. Like, I don't feel the need for medicine. But if you do, fucking take it.
No, and that is something that sorry, that was me. That was me, Nikki. We were battling.
Yeah, I know.
We were battling the mute button there. Anyway.
I know. I was like, are you trying to silence the woman?
I was unmuting you, and then you're muting yourself. All right. So anyway,
Wow, my first experience on this podcast, and I don't think
I will never be back again. So
no.
1 star.
Yeah, 1 star. So, do not recommend.
So when it comes to anxiety, like what is, Nikki, what is the feeling like what is it like? Is it heart palpitations? Is it just, I don't know if I've ever had an anxiety attack unless I was really high. And when I was really high, I think that was the first time I ever had an anxiety attack. And I was like, I think this is what it is. I think I'm having it now.
It's really hard to explain. Everybody experiences anxiety in various different ways. I've had physical and mental at the same time, emotional. But usually when I know I'm having it is I'm overthinking, like, to an extreme. Like, I'm usually an overthinker, like, constantly anyway. So I always have a thought behind my thought, behind my thought, behind my thought. But I'm, like, really focused on it, and I kind of just start to disassociate with everybody around me. I might get a little irritable. Everything just starts to become like a big deal. You just kind of get, like, over emotional for some reason. Or sometimes I just completely shut down, like I go numb.
Okay.
And
it's like a defense mechanism, basically.
Right, exactly.
Down completely.
Essentially, yeah. And I've had panic attacks too. And usually with my panic attacks, they're so intense that I pass out, like just like that. And it will take like about 30 seconds. I'll come back immediately, but yeah, it's just me passing out. I've had them triggered from emotional experiences, and I've had them just out of the blue too. So
just nothing actually triggering.
No, I literally will just be sitting there. I remember one time I was waiting on my ex-boyfriend to get out of work, and I was just sitting in the parking lot, and I was just chilling on my phone, and I can feel it when it's coming on, and I just felt it, and thank God it was parked, but I felt it, and I just blacked out for a second and came back about 10 seconds later. Yeah.
Good Lord. No, that's wild.
Yeah.
I want
It's
to
great.
actually, there's go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say it can range from like you just be like just digging at your fingers maybe, or you're just like just kind of need to move.
Yeah, I tend to do that. Yeah.
Or you can it's like you have this, like you feel like you literally feel like a cold shell, like you're just sitting there, and then you just like get like this like 1,000-yard stare, just like
right,
you're not even there, you don't even exist, you're just
you get tunnel vision.
Yeah, like you know you're there, but you still feel like you don't exist, and you just feel like.
I like to say that that's disassociating. I feel like that's the right word for it. Where everything around you just kind of shuts off.
Yeah.
What
and
about,
it also depends on like are you anxious about a situation, or are you having like an existential crisis or something? It all varies. Like there's 1,000 different kinds of it. They're equally, like, even if it is just you like digging at your nails a little bit, or just kind of sitting there, or if you are in a like catatonic state, like there's no, it's not a contest. Like it's all bad, and it's all all terrifying.
What about you, Dustin? Dustin, have you ever experienced any issues like that? I mean, like, I know we've kind of like taken over this whole bit for 1 second.
No, I've been staying quiet because I don't have anything to add. I mean, I've never had any episode like that. I've never
Dustin's
had
perfect
medication.
Yeah.
Didn't say that, but
say that.
I feel so great about myself.
No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just I'm not contributing because I got nothing to add. Like, you guys keep talking. This is not my territory.
Oh, well, okay. You just get a pillow and blanket, then you can just lay down. We'll wake you up.
I'll just go get my blue pill. And
This is like one time I thought I had one bag of tea, but I had no bags of tea.
Oh, it was so upsetting. I was so frustrated. I threw the box.
I know
threw the empty box of tea against the wall, and it did nothing but clash against it with no force.
So
I am an ally.
So here's something. Brittany had just commented. She stated that a lot of time regular PCP doctors, they will just throw you on any random antidepressant, and that's what sucks. So one thing I'm gonna disagree with is it's not a random antidepressant. It's a process that they have to do. They start with the ones that are weaker, with the least amount of side effects, and they work their way up. But let me just move on, because she actually has a very, very good point here. And you're not digging down to the root problem when you're doing this. Like for me, I had severe anxiety. Well, come to find out, I have 2 thyroid diseases, and once I was on medication regularly, she hasn't had an anxiety episode, anxiety attack since. Now, that actually brings me to a really, really good point. This is going to be from mindwise.org. Excuse me, I believe this one, so this one is from mentalhealth.org.uk. And it's saying that women are more likely than men to have a common health problem. That being said, I wonder, is it sometimes misdiagnosed for women? I think a lot more often than not, you've heard it from, my mother, she's got Hashimoto's thyroiditis. She's had her thyroid removed, and it took about 15 years for them to figure out what the real problem was. And they blamed it a lot on just common time of the month, women issues, stuff like that, hormone cycling, whatever. And they never really could pinpoint what the problem was. And I know that thyroiditis for an autoimmune problem, and the autoimmune community as well, that's also in heavy research, just like how mental health is and how you can actually identify. But do you think that for women more often than men, because women, I thought it would be women would go to actually try to figure out what was going on more than men, because men kind of try to keep it down more. It's actually the opposite in a lot of statistics.
That's what I was thinking.
But for women to actually go and find out, how often do you think that is that it gets misdiagnosed? I mean, you just heard Brittany say it, and my mother's gone through the same thing.
Me coming from my perspective as a very, generic cis white man, I've heard a few tales of how physicians don't always take a woman's symptoms as legitimate because you're a woman and you're supposed to feel weird things and things are supposed to happen to your
You
body.
bleed every month.
AKA, are you pregnant?
So I've heard tell that it's a relatively common practice to take a few symptoms that women will complain about, and we're going to neglect those because that could be something else. So,
Absolutely. And I think it's even worse in people of color.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've heard a lot more about that.
Absolutely.
Is that an rather an underrepresentation of people of color in the medical industry, or is it just a systemic thing?
Socioeconomic.
I think it's both. I've had people of color as doctors, and they were amazing compared to the other doctors that I've met with. And then, I do think it's a systemic racism thing in the medical field. Unfortunately, I've heard many stories of them just treating people of color differently just because they didn't feel like dealing with it.
Well, you hear a lot too, especially in certain different cultural areas in this country, lower socioeconomic status, where it is African American women who are often misdiagnosed with a lot of issues. And that is, yes, that's a very prevalent problem. Absolutely.
It might not even be entirely medical either. It could, there is, I'm going to say this the best way I can with, this is,
you're on watch. You're on watch, sir.
Well, think about it. Like when you have like communities of like a Black community or Hispanic community where they are a minority community, a lot of it too is, it could be the families or the parents like, no, you're fine. You just gotta be stronger. You gotta fight. We had it tough. You gotta make it through. And that mental health does not give a shit about your color.
Right.
Which is fair.
But
which is very fair.
Yeah, if you have say I'll just use a Black community. If you have a depressed Black dude, and the parents could or aunt or uncle, grandparents could just be like, look, you gotta set an example. You gotta be tough. You can't show any sign of weakness. And that's more like, a sign of systemic racism that comes from other ways.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm white, so I can't speak to that. It just seems like that could be very well. It could all start at home. Like, that goes too with mental health and like, say, more affluent white families. That could be like, you're rich. I worked my entire life to build you a life. You're not depressed. You need to be grateful for what you have. It all comes from something that
Right.
isn't that is addressed that shouldn't be addressed, and getting to the root problem of it. So,
Yeah.
Right,
So
I can attest to that.
I want to welcome on Mason, your mom, and my mom. They're talking back and forth right now.
Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing. So
My mom,
I want to talk about some fast facts. And this does come from mentalhealth.org and from mindwise.org.
This better be fast.
So you better fucking speak so goddamn fast. So
better get your Shapiro on.
So male depression in typical, yeah, I haven't taken enough Adderall for that, but typical male depression may present itself in the form of anger, irritability, aggression, and instead of sadness. That is a common point to how society views a male toxic masculinity,
Right.
whatsoever. But what that also shows is on the feminist side as well, women are not really supposed to speak out about certain kinds of issues like that. So women are more apt to actually keep them down, while men still project it outward. So that means women are stronger and they can just kind of swallow. Where we swallow, they can actually really swallow. We have to project it out in other ways because we're weak-minded. That's a joke. But anyway, so
is it
that's like the sort of theory about why there are so many serial killers in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So we didn't really, we knew it existed, like the thinkers in the medical field knew PTSD existed, but it wasn't really addressed until after like the Vietnam War. So in like World War I, World War II is just like man up, step
Yeah,
up.
Patton slapped a soldier because he had shell shock.
Right.
He's
And
like,
and so
thank you for
that's
slapping me. I still have shell shock though, but you
I still see the eyes of the dead, Patton, and hell screams your name, and he's just like, fuck.
so
But no, they think they think a lot of the reason why there are so many serial killers in the 60s, 70s, and 80s was because the fathers probably fought in World War II or Korea or whatever, and came back and they had this PTSD. But you don't really talk about it because that's not what men do.
That's true.
And,
Right.
and then so they end up beating their kids or being cold and distant or whatever. So
especially with how to experience or how to cope with PTSD, depression, whatever. Because the thing about PTSD, and it's very prevalent, especially in veterans, today, in the homelessness. I mean, it's hard to cope with what it is that you had to go through, and there's not enough tools out there for them to use, or they don't know where to start looking. And I think that contributes a lot to it as well. And if there's somebody that really needs a helping hand, I mean, yeah, veterans is on that list. I mean, like they need a helping hand in making sure that they can go back to day-to-day civilian life with no issues and live out an actual happy life. But let me continue this here. So men consistently have higher rates of alcohol and substance use than women. In all recorded suicides in 2013 in the United States, alcohol was involved in 1/4 of them. 9% of American men have daily feelings of depression or anxiety, and 1 in 4 men have spoken to a mental health professional.
Wow.
Now, that being said, on the women's side, there was more women that actually spoke to a mental health professional than men. Yet the suicide rate is 79% men and 21% women. So I'm really curious about that number. Is it just like a mental capacity kind of thing? Is it just a way of acting out? Like I know that suicide really is like an acting out method. It is, it's sad and it's tragic, but why is it so much higher, 4 times higher in men than what it is in women?
I think it's just a lack of acceptance in any kind of emotional intelligence in men. I feel like, well, I'm not gonna lie. I've thought about that subject and doing it myself. And if I didn't have somebody or multiple people that I know wouldn't have judged me or that I could talk to, who knows if I would still be here. I feel like men often feel more times than not that they are truly alone in this world, and this just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, that's a very it's a very heavy topic to discuss.
Right.
Suicide. And it actually becomes more prevalent with parenthood. They say that with parents, 10% of mothers and 6% of fathers will experience severe depression in their lifetimes, and that I think has to do once again with adequacy as a parent, as an individual, whatsoever.
Probably lack of sleep.
That probably plays a bit of a role. You would know more than anybody, actually. I don't think you know what sleep is anymore. I think you could survive on 4 hours of sleep each night. I couldn't do it. I need my solid 13 hours to get through the day. So, but moving on, it's interesting, when I was talking about before, men who actually project it out while women keep it down. Women tend to experience more issues internally, such as seasonal affective disorder, and have symptoms of atypical depression. 12% of U.S. women will experience this, and the common age is 25 to 44 years old, and they're twice as likely to have an anxiety disorder than men. Now, that question is, do you think those stats are because more women will go to seek the medical help, or do you think that's more has to do with just naturally how women deal with depression versus how men deal with depression? Because a lot of anxiety disorders have to do with more of an internal struggle than an external struggle.
It's hard to say, honestly. It could be both, but I feel like there's so much pressure on women to do all these things that society wants us to do. You can be too fat, too skinny, you know, no matter what women do, it's wrong. And so I feel like, yeah, you know,
you need to learn to accept that.
Yes, exactly. And then they think they're crazy and they go see somebody and then
just get over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's also kind of a run over from Mother's Little Helpers, you know, in the 50s, 40s, 50s.
Yes, the Rolling Stone song.
Yeah, one of their better songs, which I'm more Stones than Beatles, so put that down on the record. But no, like in that time, you know, the dad went to work. He worked his one job at the factory, making $45,000 a year, and had 7 kids and a house and a car, and the mom stayed at home with all the kids. And it's like, I'm getting fucking stressed out. I think I have something called postpartum depression. I just made that up. And the doctor's like, yeah, we never heard of that. Here, have a pill. And so, you know, decades later.
That sounds like the 50s and 60s doctor style that I've heard of from TV.
Yeah.
So,
and like postpartum depression. No, you're fine. But here, take this pill. It'll help you cook dinner better.
It'll help you cook dinner better.
These are diet pills. They'll help you get back to your original frame.
Yeah, because your husband doesn't attract you anymore, and that's all you're here for. And so it kind of bleeds over, and you know, we have to understand too, talking about this, how we talk about mental health. You know, the 4 of us especially, and you know, even I would say probably the millennial generation is the one that, you know, got the ball really rolling
with mental health. Yeah,
the importance of mental health, when before, you know, it's not that it wasn't seen as important, but it was more on the back burner. We're the ones now that are like, no, this is a priority. And so you still have that generation where it's you know, like, oh, anxiety, like just quit freaking out and
oh, you're sad? Have you tried not being a pussy?
I don't know. You should go to work.
A keyword.
You can go into your garage and turn on your circular saw, and then you can cry like a man with no witnesses and the sound to drown it out.
Yeah.
Trump 2020.
Yeah.
But that's actually why I wanted to talk about this. I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about the correlation between social media and mental health. Do you feel like social media has either made the issue better, or has it ruined it?
No, it hasn't made it better. And so there's I don't know if it's more mental fatigue.
I think that's the key. I don't think it's necessarily made anything better or worse for that matter. But I think Mike just hit on the key right there. It's the mental fatigue. It's the constant bombardment of, oh my God, did you hear what happened today? Did you read about this? Did you read about this? Did you read about this? Holy mackerel, this happened.
No, I didn't.
It's just, it's so much.
It is so much. And it's all in your face.
I'll get it from Facebook. I'll get it from Reddit. I'll get it from my Google News feed. I'll look at it on different other news sites. It's a constant bombardment of just, this is happening, and this is the world we live in. Are you happy?
It is,
no.
And it's pure information. And you know, most people, the first thing they do when they wake up, it's their smartphone is their alarm, so they turn it off and they immediately go on to social media. And it's almost like their daily news brief, basically. And it's nothing fucking real. It's not real. It's just opinions and bullshit. So if you start your day like that, you're already starting it on a bad foot. And so I was actually reading here that there's 6 common issues between social media and mental health. Life inadequacy was one of them, comparing your life to other people. FOMO, isolation, depression, cyberbullying, and self-absorption. Self-absorption, just the attention seeking alone, is a major issue. And the problem with it is we've all forgotten one thing, is it's not real. None of it is real. Nothing that you're reading on there is fucking real.
If you constantly have to tell the internet how happy you are,
you're not happy.
Not that happy.
it's as simple as that, you know, and just like, you know, mental fatigue, I think that's a bigger problem when it comes to social media, because it's like getting in a comment discussion, you know, with like, we're liberal, so getting in a discussion, a debate with a conservative that goes on for 4.5 hours. Once you think you've defeated the other person, well, they got another point they want to bring up, and then your brain just slowly shuts down, and you're just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep going.
that reminds me, and it's that feeling of defeat. And I know I'm smarter than you know than Facebook and Instagram and everything, but it hooks you. And I've noticed myself more recently, and I hate saying it, but it's the truth. Like, out of honesty, like, I'm sitting there like pulling out my phone for the third, like going to the fridge and there's no food, but you go again.
Yep.
And go again, and you keep reloading Facebook, and like, and actively thinking, why do I care? This is
Right.
But you still do it. You still keep doing it. But I remember one time I had an aunt post. It was during the impeachment that Adam Schiff has a sister who's married to George Soros' son, and that's why the impeachment is happening, because George Soros wanted it to happen.
Right.
And that's why Schiff was leading it. And so I commented back.
Did Bill Gates have something to do with it too?
Yeah, probably. He did everything. But I did a 25-second research, and then I commented. I was like, well, Adam Schiff doesn't have a sister, so this isn't true. And then, which is true, and then another aunt comments, well, the Democrats still hate us anyway. So I was like, all right, so if I went and jumped off a building, nothing would matter. Nothing would change.
Yeah, but the sky is blue. The sky is blue. Yeah, but the Democrats still hate us anyway.
Wait.
Okay.
The sky's blue?
And so I don't mean to bring up like politics, but it's that sense of defeat where it's like, you said something that was wrong. I corrected you, and you still won't acknowledge it. And that's all social media is now.
Well, that's my thing with it. I'm back and forth with it, because yes, it does kind of hinder my mental health throughout the day. Sometimes I look at it too much. It'll make me sad, angry, or whatever. But at the same time, I am grateful for some aspects of social media, because I feel like I wouldn't have recognized signs within myself and other people of other disorders, mental illnesses, or anything like that too. So it's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's almost like, you know, it's how you see all the time. Facebook keeps trying to take this down.
Yes.
So it stays up.
Post it before they take it down.
Oh my God.
The funny thing about Facebook is it's a private company, and so they can do whatever the fuck they want. But not just that.
Yeah, and they don't do much of taking anything down.
They don't give a shit.
They're pretty much okay with everything that's going on. So
did y'all see that? I posted. Sorry, I'm gonna change the subject for a second, but I posted that.
Nobody looks at you.
I reported. I hate you. I reported like this.
You're one of my favorite meme posters ever.
Same
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
Same here.
Not me. I never liked it. I never.
Screw you, Mike.
Anyway, so I reported this Facebook page that had like provocative pictures of children on it, and it was like pretty boys and girls. And I reported it to Facebook immediately, because, you know, why wouldn't you do that? And I get a notification from Facebook saying that they didn't take it down because it wasn't against, or it wasn't violating any of their guidelines.
Yeah, because I have to use all technicalities. But I know exactly which one you're talking about, and I'm going to let you know right now, that was a troll page that was set up just to piss people off.
Oh, well, it worked. I don't care if it's a troll page or not. I don't want those pictures on there.
No, of course not. Nobody does. I saw the page. I went to the page, and I was like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous. It was right at the height of the whole pedophilia thing, all the bullshit that was going on. And I was like, what asshole is really fucking doing this right now?
Well, where are you going to find those pictures anyway?
Now.
What with the at the height of the big argument on social media about pedophilia.
That's still going on.
Yeah,
right now.
No, not as big as it was.
That's one thing though that I've been trying to promise myself to, stay off of Facebook more, because, man, I like being informed on, you know, just the way sex trafficking is done, like the signs, the things that people employ to do that. But it just got me in a dark space. Like
It does.
it like the things I see, it just makes me so fucking terrified constantly.
That's
and so
the mental anguish.
yes, it's that fine line between I want to be informed so I can look for things, but also it's like that's so terrifying to me that I wish I never even it never even entered my brain like that.
See, I went through that with the Black Lives Matter movement, because I was very prevalent on there, and I had to take a break after a while because it was really, I would stay up for a long time and just think about it, and I would just feel horrible. And, yeah, because there's things you can do, of course, but really, is there anything that you can do from
you could protest.
me sitting in my Harry Potter apartment?
No.
And, posting on Facebook.
And it's the options. You can be aware and you can be observant and you can report things that you see that are wrong.
Right.
And then the counter is that you're gonna realize like how dark this world is.
And that's why I appreciate social media in a way, but also because I wouldn't have known about any of the sex trafficking stuff, the BLM movement, things like that. I don't really see that in my day-to-day life.
So that's the double-edged sword. We are more informed now than ever before in the history of this world. We know what's going on in Belarus. You've heard about what's going on in Belarus. But
ignorance is bliss, at the same time.
Election over there, and we know about it. We know that there's funky stuff going on in Ukraine. We know that Brexit is a pain in the ass. And we know about that because we are more informed than anybody else in the history of the world. And it's draining.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's a pain in the ass to know all this stuff and just be bombarded with all of this.
I have stigmata.
So we're running out of time here. We're gonna have to try to bring this slowly to a close. And tonight, I actually have something that's a little bit more positive for the Thanks for Something. Getting off the negativity of social media and depression and whatnot. But this actually has to do with COVID and some of the good things that actually happened. And this is from the New York Times, and it was shared by Elle magazine. And it has to do with this pianist. She's a teacher, Dr. Cornelia. Pianist? The pianist? Dr. Cornelia Vertenstein. She's a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor, and she's taught piano lessons at her Denver home for more than half a century. But when the coronavirus swept in, most of her students were forced to stay home. Special concern was reserved for older adults, and Vertenstein was suddenly alone. Nevertheless, she insisted that the lessons would continue, and Vertenstein took to calling the children on their cell phones or using FaceTime on her iPad, with the students' phones propped up so she could see their hands. She held spring recitals, which she worried at first that she would have to cancel. She states that with great pride, I introduced my students who prepared themselves with discipline and determination in difficult circumstances. When I was a little girl, I couldn't go to public schools because of my religion, and they created a little school in the basement of an old building, which sometimes had heat and sometimes didn't. Great minds and achievements came out of that school, which taught me in any situation you can strive, learn, look ahead, and have dreams. And that was Dr. Cornelia Vertenstein, a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor. So, for something.
I drink to
that.
You know what?
Cheers.
Thanks for something.
Thanks for something. The good things in the world. I'd like to thank everybody who watched this evening. Ashley just now actually hopped on. And
thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing, Ashley. And Izzy, thank you for hopping on as well. But yeah, so this has been episode number 114 of Thanks for Nothing. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitch, right here on Facebook. Be sure to like us on our Facebook page, T4N.
Please like us.
What?
Please like us.
Please. We've been stuck at 200 something for a while. Can more people like us, please?
We don't have a lot of friends.
I really would like to thank Nikki for coming on this evening. It's been fun.
So much.
Thank you, Nick.
Great.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Fucking conversation. It really was. And coming from me, Mason, and Dustin, thanks for nothing, everybody. And here's your speck of dust.
While Van Gogh painted over 2,100 paintings in his life. He only sold one while he was alive.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's a good way to end that. That was good. I miss it, man. I miss Speck of Dust. We used to end every show with that.
I miss making jokes about how it was always about ocean life.
It's always about animals.
I wanted to play a game, but I guess I don't have the privilege of doing that tonight.
No, you don't get a game show.
Thanks, Dustin.
No, it wasn't me. Mike's the one that planned it out. Don't blame me.
Thanks for Dustin.
It was
Thanks
me.
for nothing, Mike.
Yeah, it was me. Because I actually
That's the name of the show.
So it works. It works so perfectly. No, I actually had here, introduce Nikki, open up the discussion, and I put game show, and then I was like, nah. Actually, and I went through segments.
You decided to do weird sports guy.
What?
And then you decided to do weird sports guy instead.
I did.
Well, unfortunately, Nikki, what happened was, it was a couple weeks ago. We had Professor Neely on, and we did a game show then, and that's when we were talking about like Black Lives Matter and teaching.
Mm-hmm.
But we did a game show, and it ate up so much time. So we were kind of like, maybe when we have guests on, we shouldn't do a game show.
Oh, excuses. You just knew you were going to have a woman on this week,
No.
and you didn't want to do that.
Yeah, we usually don't like women.
Questions about Susan B. Anthony. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just feel like a game show.
That was the whole point.
If you're sewing, what fabric? I'm kidding. I'm not.
I just feel like a game show would have been the perfect way to end a podcast about depression. But that's just me.
Oh, did you suggest that? I'm sorry. Did Nikki suggest that? Did anybody hear Nikki?
I just did. So.
Oh, when it was over. When it was over.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Oh, well, it was a little.
Isn't it even
late.
over? We're still live.
A little late for that.
I mean, we're still recording, but no, we're not live.
Oh shit! You're right. We are still recording.
Well, we're